Welcome to our August 16th, 2024.
Sixth.
August 6th, yeah, okay.
Don't
No,
rush it.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
Rushing it.
You wish.
I wish. Yeah. Our August 6th, 2024 Board of County Commission meetings. Our invocation will be by Pastor Stan Allen from Redeemer Lutheran Church and School, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be from William Makarsky, U.S. Marine Corps veteran. Please stand and remain standing for the pledge.
Good morning. Let's pray. Merciful Father, we are so thankful for this day, another day you have given to each of us to serve. Thank you for this great joy and blessing. Lord, we also ask that and thank you for the various gifts which you have given to each of us. And today we are especially thankful for the gifts given to each of our county commissioners, that they would serve the people of Martin County with wisdom, compassion, and joy. Lord, I pray for guidance and strength for our county commissioners as they discuss the matters brought before them, and that you would be with them as they carry out their work with a spirit of joy, enthusiasm, and humility. And Father, we're also so thankful for all those who work in and for our county government. May their service to the people of Martin County be joyful and rewarding, and I ask that you would bless each and every one of them. I ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Morning.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Good morning.
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 My name is Bill Mokarski, and I'm honored to be here. And I haven't done the pledge like this for a long time, and it meant a lot to me. We certainly grew up doing it in school every single day back then. And about my Vietnam service,
Step into the mic a little bit closer, sir.
I'm sorry.
better.
With my Vietnam service, I joined the Marine Corps in 1967 after a dismal year in college. I graduated high school in 65, tried college in 66, didn't work out that well. So I joined the Marine Corps in 1967, was sent to California. I went to Vietnam in 1968 and 69. I was with an artillery unit. And during that time, everything had changed in our country. It was still a ground war, but we were being trained in something brand new, and it was called guerrilla warfare in the jungles and rice paddies of Vietnam. And it was a really different time in our country. We had half of the colleges and college kids wanting to go to Canada did not want to be a part of the draft, even though I had joined. I wasn't drafted. And other people were joining and wanted to be a part of the fight for America. And it really split our country. And I'm kind of thinking about this today because I thought it was the worst period in my life. But it's not so different from where we are today with a split country. When we were moving one of our guns, I was with 38-inch howitzer battery. We were ambushed. And just before the ambush, my very, very good friend from boot camp, who I have not seen in 6 months, yelled out my name and how he could pick me out of that group of Marines in the jungle, yelled out my name and said, "Mokarski, 30 more days," and he was going home. 15 seconds later, he was dead, and all hell broke loose. But I'm proud to have been a Marine, proud to have been there, and I think I thank my parents for being so patriotic. Anyway, thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we have 5:05 public comment, 11 a.m. preset executive session, Department 3, and then at 5:05, which we have a very short agenda today, so there are no way we're going to be there, no matter how much Commissioner Campy talks.
That's
But-
funny. You're funny. Leave
Anyway.
the jokes to me.
Okay. We have a request to withdraw from the agenda. Consent 7, request to release a unity of title for lots 21 and 23 of the St. Lucie Inlet Terrace plat. And then Department 4, Brightline update. We have no consent pulls, and with that, Commissioner Smith.
Good morning. Move approval of the agenda with no additional items. The request to withdraw consent item 7, Department 4, and there are no polls, and I think that is all that you added.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with Commissioner Heatherington absent. Okay. Our first order of business is a proclamation. Actually, it's a presentation by Jenny Fields, Martin County Property Appraiser.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. I think I'm going to sit down because I have a PowerPoint. Is that how
Sure,
that
yeah,
works?
absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to sit down.
Do
Never
not
had a
argue with the
PowerPoint
person
here. I've
who
always
sets
just talked.
your tax rate.
Yeah.
So good morning. Thank you, Ms. Woods, Mr. Donaldson, commissioners. Thank you so much. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Thank you for inviting me here today. This is an important time of year. I think in the back of the room, we are passed out our supplement this year, which you're going to see. I think you each have one in front of you, which is, I'm going to be talking a lot about that today. But mainly, this is the time of year, if you are a property owner or a business owner, you need to pay attention to what comes in the mail, because these two documents that you see on the screen, the one on the left is a trim notice, and the one on the right is the supplement, which you have in front of you. That is chock full of information that as a property owner you need to know. As a new buyer, you need to know. Deadlines, important things coming up. There's a little bit about a constitutional amendment that you're going to see on the ballot, what that means to you as a property owner. So I encourage you to read through that. But today we're going to be talking about what is TRIM, what is truth and millage. So in 1980, a long time ago, the Florida legislature passed a law, and it was called the Truth and Millage Act. And basically, what that means is, as a property owner, before that time, you would write your check at the end of the year and pay your taxes, but you didn't really know how it was derived, what the value was, who the money was going to, how the rates were established. There was so much involved with the taxes, so they implemented this act that basically said it kicks off January 1st, or actually just January 1st is our date of assessment, but July 1st is actually the starting period for TRIM, Truth and Millage. And on that, for the July 1st, we actually send all of our data files to the Florida Department of Revenue for audit and approval. We also, at this time, submit all the taxable values to each taxing authority. That yourself is the Board of County Commissioners. You have your school board, each of your municipalities, Children's Services, Florida Inland Navigation, and South Florida Water Management District. All of them get their reported taxable values. And at this time, on July 1st, we also put all the values that we've proposed on our website. So at any time from July 1st on, you can look up your parcel and see what value we've placed on your property. Now, to do this, one of the things that we did is when we reported to, I'm going to use y'all as an example, when we reported to you your taxable values in Martin County, we reported a 6.43% increase in market value. That was attributed to a couple factors. The first one being appreciation in values based on the 2023 market. There's a couple things I want to cover in just that sentence. The first thing is, you're probably wondering, if you're reporting the 2024 values, why are you even mentioning the 2023 market? Well, that's because the Florida law states that we have to value property on January 1st, which means we're prohibited from looking at any sale that occurred after January 1st. So the values that we report to you is based on a market that could be a year old. But that's what we have to do. We have to review the 2023 market. And appreciation means that when we look at the market, the sale prices are what basically dictate the value on your property. So if you see an increase in your market value, it's because the sale prices for homes similar to your own or businesses similar to your own, the sale prices were higher. And law states that we have to value at 100% of the market price minus we allow for cost of sale. So typically, we're about 15% less. So if the sale prices are higher, the values are going to be higher. One of the other things that attributed to this 6.43% growth is new construction. Now, this is countywide. This isn't just in one particular area. Across all of Martin County, it was a total of $758 million. That consisted of 542 single-family homes, 6 multifamily projects, and 30 industrial buildings totaling over 1 million square feet. So that was really what attributed to the market growth. But now the taxable value, most people would be like, well, if the market went up 6%, why is the taxable going up 10%? So in this scenario, the taxing authorities also benefited this year from Florida's unique assessment limitation laws by receiving a taxable value percent increase that exceeded the market. And what I mean by that is when you look at market values, okay? This is an example of what's called the recapture rule. So here you have a base year. Let's say they filed for homestead, market was $400,000. This was years ago. As market value appreciates, okay, you can see that, till now where it's worth $725,000, the assessed value is limited, okay, and that's a law. If you're a homestead property owner, it can't go up any more than 3% a year. And it's actually 3% or the consumer price index, whichever's lower. There were some years that it was lower. But either way, over a 5-year span, this property only has an assessed value of $443,000, while the market's up at $725,000. So their nest egg, their nugget of savings, if you will, is $281,000 that they pay nothing on. Okay, and so what happens is when you start to level off, we don't have that much of an increase in market, not like it was in 22 and 23. So they were a little higher, but some values you might find that didn't change at all. In this scenario, you can see from the next year, market value stayed the same at $725. But if you look at the assessed value, it still has to increase, and it will continue to increase until they match, until they equal market value again. So in a market where it's not going up, like I said, we only reported 6%, homestead properties are still going to go up 3% even if they didn't see a market change. And actually, the example of this, which is a homestead property, the main driver this year was your 10% non-homestead properties, because all your commercial, industrial, vacant land, things like that, they get to go up, they're only capped at 10%. So even if their market value didn't go up at all, or let's say it only went up 2 or 3%, they're going to go up the full 10% until it meets the market value. So your commercial ones will actually had a higher driver this year because of this recapture rule. So with that, just to kind of show you a little bit, this is in the handout, and anyone who the handout will be in the mail with you when you get your trim notice, which is going to be in 2 weeks. So again, this chart is in that thing. You have it in here with you. And this just kind of shows you how all the municipalities did this year based on the appreciation, new construction, and the recapture rule. Now, from July, let me go back. From July, 35 days after July 1st is when the taxing authorities, each one of those authorities, have to report back their millage rates. They've looked at their budget. We've reported to them their taxable values. So you've determined how much tax rate you need to set to get the budget that you need. Those are returned to our office, and then 55 days after the July 1st, we're required by law to send the notice of proposed property taxes, which is your trim notice. That's this. Now, when you get this, a couple things. Number one, this is the time to be informed. This is the time to ask questions. So I encourage you to look at the value we've placed on your property. That is the red column in the middle. If you don't agree or you don't believe that's a fair taxable value, please call our office. We have operators standing by. You can walk right in, no appointment necessary, but we are happy to show you all the information, all the sales we used, but this is the time to ask questions. Likewise, this is the time that the proposed rates are listed on this trim notice. So in the gray section, you'll see that's all the prior year information. So the first three columns on your trim notice, you'll see the last year's final millage rate for each taxing authority, you'll see the value we placed on their property, and you'll see the taxes that you paid last year. The blue column is when it's called the rolled back rate. And what that rolled back rate basically means is when the property appraiser reports the taxable values countywide, if those taxable values increase from last year, it thereby lowers what you're required to pay because each taxing authority got more money. So the rate, they don't need as much, right? For them to get the same amount last year, they would just use the same rate. But because we gave them more taxable value, it drives the rate down. That's called the rolled back rate. The yellow column, pay attention to that because that's where your proposed rates are for this year based on the new budgets that were set by each taxing authority. That is percent that you see from the blue column. Any rate increase or decrease in the yellow column from the blue is actually a tax increase or decrease according to the Florida Department of Revenue. So those three columns, the value, very important. Call my office. We will talk to you. Or if you have questions about the rates, this is the time to talk about that. And on the back side of your trim notice, all the budget hearings will be displayed. This is going to be where you can go listen to Children's Services, if you want to see how they come up with their rate, if you want to go to the South Florida Water Management, if you want to come to the BOCC, all the hearings will be listed here for your review. I encourage you to go to those hearings and be informed. Listen, because you guys explain everything that they need to understand. And this is the time to do it because in November, when the tax bills are mailed, that's it. Everything is final at that point. So whether it's just a question about your value, whether it's a question about your sale, this is the time to talk up, speak up. Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Can I interrupt while you're
Of course.
this piece of it right now? So all those other taxing authorities that you just listed, they are independent of the county commission, correct? I
Correct.
mean, we have no say over what the
Correct.
water management sets for its rate.
That's correct.
City of Stewart, the same.
Yep.
We have no control over that. School board, we have no control over that.
Correct.
So and maybe we'll say that in your thing, but I think it's important that people, when they do look at their trim notice, just remember all of those categories, those hearings are entirely separate taxing authorities.
And I will, if we go back here on the left-hand side of the trim notice, you'll see every taxing authority listed. What we do is the main taxing authority you'll see is in bold. All the ones they're responsible for are listed indented over underneath it. If they start out in the beginning, none of those answer to the other one. You only have control over the ones listed under the BOCC. Does that? Yeah. So, and if you have any question on that when you get your trim notice, please call our office. Our number is at the bottom, and we can answer those questions for you. Okay, so with that, I would like to just kind of switch gears with new home buyers. When we send out the trim notice, probably we average about 2,000 phone calls in the first 2.5 weeks. And the people that call the most are the new home buyers. But there's a difference whether you purchased in 23 and whether you purchased in 24. So I would like to just break that down a little bit. So here's what you need to know. First of all, date of assessment. By law, I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier, we have to value your property on January 1. It's a snapshot of your property on January 1, which means if you're going to apply for homestead exemption or any property tax exemptions, you have to own it on January 1 and you have to reside there on January 1. to qualify for any exemptions. If you're filing for agricultural classification, the agricultural use must be in place on January 1. If you construct a new home, if your home is not done and didn't get CO'd until February, you're going to get a bill in November on a vacant lot because it wasn't completed on January 1. So all new construction has to be done on January 1. And then we take all that information and then we review every sale that occurred last year in 2023. So we take all those sale prices, we compare that to our value. Are our values too low? Are they too high? And then we report the value. So when you look at a timeline of 2024, right now we are in this spot right here in August when the trim notice is coming out. Just know that when you get that notice, it is based on a snapshot of 8 months prior, January 1. Likewise, in November, when the bill comes out, you're paying taxes based on a snapshot 11 months prior. And that's based on a market that could be a year old. So I know it's a timeline thing, but as a new home buyer, just know our date of assessment is January 1, and this is why. If you purchased your home, and this is very important, because these are the people that we're going to be talking to in the next 2 weeks. If you purchased your home in 2023, the mortgage payment that was established at your closing was based on the 2022 taxes, okay? So just know that if you bought it in 23, it was based on the seller's information from 2022. The second thing, the taxes that you paid as a new buyer in November of 23 were not yours. They were not your exemptions. They were not your value caps, your Save Our Homes benefit. It was the sellers that you inherited. The third thing, your deadline to file for your exemption was March 1st this year, because now on January 1, you're the owner. So now this is your base year. So if you missed your deadline, I encourage you, please come in. You can still file late. You can do that all the way through trim. So if you have not taken advantage of filing for your property tax exemptions, please call our office and we can help you out. And then the last thing right now is you need to communicate what your proposed taxes are with your mortgage company, because November is coming and that mortgage company is going to get the bill now and it's not going to be what they had last year. And this is the reason. Last year, when you purchased the property, this was the trim notice you received. And you see, remember that market value of $725, but because the assessed value had been capped, it was only $443. And remember that Save Our Homes benefit of $281,000? That means that the taxes were $6,600. That's what your mortgage payment is based on. That's what the trim notice you saw last year. So now this year, that seller took all of that with them to their new property, and now you're starting fresh. So now your value is based on your sale price of $725, which is now looking like taxes of $11,000. So now imagine you're going to get a trim notice. You've lived in the home for more than a year. You're happy, you've been paying your mortgage, and now you're going to get a trim notice from my office, and it's going to go, oh, here's the prior year column. You were paying $6,600, and now you're paying $11,000. And now you're calling us going, it is illegal for you to be raising my value 70 or 80%, when really that didn't happen at all. It's because you purchased it from someone who had a cap on their property that they now took them to retire up in the Panhandle. And now they have that $281,000 up there because they ported it with them. And you're starting over. And one of the biggest comments too is they say, I don't understand this. I was told that if I file for homestead, it would save me money. Well, your homestead's only $50,000 of value. You just lost $281 in value, got replaced back on the roll. Do you see what? So it's very difficult to understand. And the way to fix this is to really hammer, and we hammer this in all our education pieces, wherever we go talk. It is just crucial. If you know anyone who's looking to buy a home, estimate your own taxes using your sale price and communicate that with your mortgage company, or at least it'll help you plan ahead for your financial impact. So again, yes.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Jen, I should have interrupted before, but so in the timeline of when you buy your house, when do you have up to claim your homestead for the coming year?
When you buy a home, your deadline to file for homestead is March 1st the following year.
Following year. So if you buy a home in August this year,
Right now,
it is the the deadline, or you can file for homestead now, but it won't go into effect until?
Oh, you can always pre-file. From the moment you file your deed at the clerk's office, you can come and you can file the application, and then we'll process it for next year. But your deadline from the time you buy it, your deadline you have from that point all the way till March 1st of the next year.
So conceivably, if you buy a $400,000 home today in August, the homestead doesn't go into effect until 25, correct?
Correct.
If the values reset for 25, and let's say the market went up $100,000, that homestead won't go into effect for that 100,000 until 2025.
Right, but now think about that. If I closed on my home today, okay, and that property had this 281,000 on screen, that's what's not being taxed. This year, I inherit that. But now next year, I'm going to file for my homestead because now I'm the buyer as of 1/1/2025. I'm going to file for my homestead. That 281 gets put back on. So now you're already going to see an increase of 281,000. But now, if the market sales that were happening this year are higher, our value might go up another 100,000 or 50,000 or whatever the market says. So you could be getting hit with this and with just the typical 1-year market increase. And now you file for homestead thinking that's going to save you money on taxes, when really the exemption, the homestead's 50,000 in value.
The but, though, is that at least at that point, that's where it starts.
Correct.
So in
Whatever
March-
their, yep,
In March 1st, right, of 25,
Mm-hmm.
if it went up to, if it was a $400,000 home and it went up 25,000, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
that's what the new homestead value starts at for the following year.
yeah. Even though you see this increase, the homestead exemption is crucial because that is the lock-in. But from the year you qualify, which is if you own it on January 1, so all these sales that are happening right now, this is gonna be their year next year. So whatever value is placed on that, that's where they're locking it in. From that point, it can't go up any more than 3% per year. They've locked it in. But it's the jump from when you're buying it from someone who has a significant cap to when you file for homestead and you see that increase, and it's very hard to explain when the whole time they're going, nobody told me that. Nobody explained that to me. And so that's what all of our education pieces are. We started sending out, just to try to be proactive, we now send out cap letters to new home buyers. When once a month, we run a report, and if you've purchased a property on something that has a significant cap, you're going to get a letter from us going, you need to start calculating now. You need to start estimating your taxes.
And the only nuance to all of this would be if you were porting from someplace else and buying a new home and you were bringing value with
Oh.
you. That would be the only other.
That is correct. If you're the seller, you're going to take that 281,000 with you to the Panhandle to retire.
But if it's reverse, if you're coming from Broward and you sold $1 million home, but you're buying a $750,000 home, you're porting with you your $1 million.
No, you can only port a maximum of 500,000 anywhere. It's only 500,000 maximum. And if you're downsizing like that, if you're coming from $1 million home to a $700,000 home here, you'll get to take some of it, but not all of it. It'll be a proportionate amount if you're downsizing. But if you're like moving from a $400,000 home into a $700,000, you get to take the whole $281,000 will go with you and come off the value your first year. And that's where you start. So if you're sitting on a nest egg like that, which you will see on your trim notice when you get it in 2 weeks, down in the purple section, it says Save Our Homes. That is your nugget that you're sitting on. So if you go to sell, that is going to go with you. And our tax estimator on our website will calculate all that for you if you're looking to move. Okay? So with that, real quick, I just wanted to talk about the people who are buying right now. We kind of touched on it, but so right now, you're buying it after the 1st. That property, that trim notice you're receiving, none of the information on there is yours. That's not your exemption you're looking at. Even if you pre-filed, you're not seeing yours because you don't qualify till next year, right? So when you get this trim notice, what you see on there, the proposed taxes that you see on there might actually reflect or be very similar to the prior year because you're inheriting what was there last year. Not much of a difference because that homestead person, their value only went up 3%, right? The next thing is any exemptions or value cap shown is the seller's. It is not yours, okay? Yours is, it's going to come off and yours is going to be on in 25. And then your deadline to file for your homestead exemption is March 1st of next year. You can absolutely come in and pre-file, but your deadline isn't until next year. And then, so important, estimate your taxes now. Using our estimator, put in your sale price. It won't be exact, but it's going to be a heck of a lot closer than looking at what the seller was paying and thinking that's going to be remotely close to what you paid, because they could have a hefty sum. And again, this is what all these buyers that are doing that right now, all this year they've been buying. This trim notice on the left is what they're going to see, 6,657. But now next year in 25, right, they're going to see similar to what we looked about 2 seconds ago when we were looking at the 23 to 24. This year, we're not going to hear from them because they're not going to see a significant increase. But next year we will, because that cap will come off next year for them. So a lot of tools, helpful tools and resources on our website. We have a handout that really goes into depth and explains that. The tax estimator right under the quick links section of our website. And then a video. There's a couple videos out there that really get into, as a new home buyer, what you should expect. So I encourage you to go online and look at that. If there's any questions, please call our office. I know this was probably a lot and I kind of ramble a little bit, but is there any questions for me?
It was
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
amazing and very complicated. Okay, we,
Test is coming after break, so.
oh, okay.
All the facts.
All right, we have two proclamations, one Purple Heart Day and one Florida Water Professionals Month. And I will,
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you? Representing the Communications Department, Nurse Okie from Tourism. Our first proclamation is declaring Purple Heart Day here in Martin County. The Purple Heart is the oldest military decoration used today and evolved from the Badge of Military Merit created by General George Washington in 1782. The Purple Heart is awarded to members of the United States Armed Forces who have been wounded or died in combat with a declared enemy of the United States of America. The board recognizes August 7th as Purple Heart Day in Martin County and appreciates the sacrifices of our Purple Heart recipients and all the veterans have made defending our freedom. We would like to bring back up Mr. William Morowski, U.S. Marine Corps Vietnam veteran, service, and Purple Heart recipient. Please to accept.
Have him take his sticker off for the picture. There you go.
Do you want to take a picture? Come on up. Picture.
Did you want to give a couple of words?
Again, I'm honored, and I thank you very, very much for this. George Washington, on August 7th, declared the Purple Heart, and I see it ever so often, but I'm honored to be up here to receive this today. I'm honored also to be a resident of Martin County, and I love Martin County.
Thank you. We're glad to have you.
Thank you very, very much.
Take your sticker off.
Might want to
Take your sticker off.
There you go.
Maybe
All right.
No, she doesn't. Looks like a Band-Aid on a blue. Looks good.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much.
No name tags, no drinks.
We have one more proclamation. It's a proclamation declaring Florida Water Professional Month here in Martin County. We have David Voisinay and Peter Vasquez that will be accepting from Utilities Solid Waste Plant Chief Operators. The water industry professionals dedicate themselves to the production and distribution of safe drinking water, as well as the proper collection, treatment, reuse, and disposal of wastewater and stormwater. Water professionals are essential first responders as defined by Florida Statute 403.865B, relating to ensuring safe drinking water and safe disposal of wastewater for our communities during storms and other catastrophic events. August is recognized as Florida Water Professionals Month, and the board asks residents to join in thanking all wastewater and water professional staff for their hard work and dedication. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning. It's my pleasure to join our community leaders here today. I want to thank you for passing this proclamation for Florida Water Professionals Month. Beyond a doubt, safe drinking water is the most essential need for a healthy community. Safe, clean water is a boon to our economy, not a drain. Economic prosperity and environmental protection go hand in hand. A healthy economy begets a healthy environment. A healthy environment is a stronger economy. Today brings myself and utilities employees great pride to be recognized for our commitment and excellence, dedication, innovation, and water and wastewater to provide safe drinking water and keep our groundwater and Indian River Lagoon clean. Our 2 regional water and wastewater facilities have won the Florida Department of Environmental Protection Plant Excellence Award twice. Also, the American Water Works Association Best Tasting Drinking Water, an unprecedented 10 times. Our facilities operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Just recently, Governor Ron DeSantis passed legislation effective July 1st, 2023, that basically says that services are essential to the health and well-being of all citizens, and that water and wastewater personnel will be given first responder designation. That's very important.
That's good.
I want to say thank you to Sam Anderson, our Deputy Director, Jeremy Covey, and the rest of our personnel that we brought here today, Derek Watson, Jay Brotherton, Marcia Sawyer, who's in charge of our underground department, Brittany Bassett, Pete Vasquez here.
Once you start naming names,
Yeah, I can go on, but everybody's very vital. Everybody's.
bring everybody. Let's take a picture in the well.
I brought everybody up today
Come
because
up.
it's very important.
Bring
that
them up. We'll
you
take a
recognize.
picture.
Come on, don't make it so short.
Everybody up.
Thank you.
Harold, come up here for the picture. Everybody, do it in the well. There's enough of you. In the well. See, it's a water term. Is Deputy?
You practiced that all weekend, just.
Sam Emerson, I
Come on,
see him in the
Sam. Let's go
back.
that back row. Bring it forward.
You guys do a terrific job.
Yes,
Thank you.
You might have to do. Yeah, tall in the back, not as tall in the front.
We're going to try to get a couple of them in here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Deputy. Got demoted right during the meeting. Thank you. That's right. As long as the check clears.
Sam,
He has a presentation to make.
Nice job, Sam.
I guess not. Maybe to me.
Okay, now it's time for public comment. We have 2 public comment forms. You have 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, 45 seconds, you hear a tone, and that just means you got 15 seconds to wrap it up. And Mr. Donaldson has a spiel for you.
Yes, so as you come up to the podium, since we are in an election season, politicking is prohibited, which is defined as advocating the election or defeat of a candidate for public office, either partisan or nonpartisan. This includes the use of words, dates, signs, props, and/or wearing apparel that convey a message of support for a person or group of persons. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, we're going to start with Mr. Tom Pine, followed by Sam Maloney.
Malone.
Malone. There's a Y at the end. Maloney.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Tom Pine. I've been a resident of Martin County for over 50 years. The budget hearing on July 22nd, 2024 was informative. Story time about the beach cafes was entertaining. The Beachside Cafe in Jensen Beach, prior to the county government taking over the control and operation, were a total mess. Years of total neglect by our county government. Much of the equipment didn't work, or if it did, it didn't work properly. At one point, the restrooms were not working properly either. I recently met the owner of Ohana Surf Shop on Hutchinson Island and had a very similar story about the Beachside Cafe in Stewart Beach. His family and friends would often do maintenance for John, the man who operated the cafe, and went on for years. Then one day, out of the blue, someone from the county informs John the county is closing the cafe with no warning. It was well known that John was a veteran. It shows actions or speak much louder than words in Martin County. The years of neglect, I believe, were planned. Once they deteriorated bad enough, the vendor at Jensen Beach had enough. The county moved in. The head of the Parks Department explained the scheme they used to circumvent democracy and operate our beachside cafes and other businesses throughout the county. He's all excited about the net revenue from the high-end hitting bays and restaurant. 2 more businesses the county government operates. Net revenue up $728,000. I did a public record request for the total cost of the clubhouse, restaurant, and high-end hitting bays around the time it opened. It was charged $30 and got 30 pages of nothing. They like to brag about how much money things make, but they sure don't want to talk about the total cost to the taxpayers to build the project. That's a secret. Why are we, the taxpayers, being forced to pay $15 million plus interest of between $7 and $12 million for a train station for a private company? That has absolutely nothing to do with the operation of this government. Who is going to benefit? Not the average taxpayer, that's for sure. Could it be your handlers at the Chamber of Commerce? And as sick irony, we the taxpayers in Martin County spent $4.1 million trying to stop Brightline just a few years ago. That's hard to believe. What you permit, you promote. What you allow, you encourage. What you condone, you own. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Malone is our last speaker forum. If anybody else would like to speak, please see the bailiff.
Morning.
Again, you all. My name's Sam Mahoney, retired lifeguard. The topic was removing the EMT certification for job requirement. I first came in here, I called Doug Smith's office, and he advised me, his secretary did, that you can come speak. And but they also asked the subject, and so his office must have shared with the fire chief. So the morning I came to speak, the fire chief was here, and he stomped out that fire the best he could to represent his decision, to tell you why he made that decision. I followed through, coming again the next week to show you and tell you the high-risk requirement at the beach is well suited for their jobs. It's not just the EMT requirement for the job, it's the high-risk pension. And the work that they do meets all of those requirements. So then I went and met with Donaldson in his office, and he too had called the fire chief. So when I walked into his office, the fire chief was there that morning, and I just wanted to see Donaldson to see how he felt about this issue. He said they don't keep secrets from him, that's why the fire chief was there. But he certainly kept the secret from me that the fire chief would be there. And so today I come back, I see he's not here. I just ask you all, you are the employers of fire rescue, the sheriff's department, and all these people. So you have the authority to agree or disagree with me on this topic, that the lifeguards, it's not just bikinis and beach balls anymore. It's ocean rescue, and this ocean and this position in Martin County on the coast of Florida, and the numbers of people that we're seeing at the beaches and the work that they're doing and the exposure. The high-risk pension is not just double when they retire, but it covers their high-risk exposures to hepatitis, AIDS, all these other exposures that they can get exposed to, and we have been. There was testing immediately. This issue for me is just right and wrong. Like the pastors prayer this morning and the proclamations that you have made to these, and the work that you do. And it's easy to see right and wrong, and I've been trying to bend an ear to get some support from you all on this. And lifeguards have needed it over the years because of the bikini and beach balls mentality that comes with lifeguarding. And the administrator did mention to me that pensions are going away, and young people during these days, they're not looking for pensions. These are the comments that I had during that meeting, and it made me just shake my head to know that it's just more bikinis and beach balls, because he doesn't see the millions of people that these guards see. People come to the Martin County, they don't expect to get caught on fire or have an auto accident, but they do go to the beaches, and your residents and our families go to those beaches. Will you see me again? Will you contact me? I can only hope, but I know you have the authority to reinstate this. And it's not about removing the EMT, but them staying in that high-risk pension. They deserve that. And even though all the current guards will reinstate,
Your time is up. Thank you.
new employees do deserve it. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Hope
Thank
to
you.
hear from you as well. Have a good day.
All right, with that, not seeing any more public comment. Commissioner comment.
I did see, did you want to, I think there is somebody.
Oh, yes. Just fill out one of these forms and give it to the bailiff before you, after you're done. Yeah.
Apologize for my unpreparedness. My name is Tana Honey, and I'm a citizen of Rocky Point, and I'm here to speak about the 300 feet at Twin Rivers Park. My girls are here. We feel that we'd like to just push pause on the current project. We know it's starting imminently, but I don't have anything prepared, sorry. But we just think that they kind of pushed the easy button on the armament project for the 300 feet of beach, and we'd still like access to it for our children. Even beyond that, we just feel that maybe the due diligence that was done was not probably the most natural and best for our environment. So we'd like for you guys just to maybe push pause on that, and maybe we could put our heads together and pick something that's a little more, gives a little more access. I know it wasn't supposed to have access. I know the citizens weren't supposed to have access, but we've become very fond of the 300 feet of little beach area that we have there. And if you guys can find any way to protect it, that would be very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Nice job.
All right. Anybody else? Seeing none. Commissioner Smith. I'm all set too. There's absolutely nothing going on in the dog days of summer in South County anyway. How about you, Mr. Campy?
I'd just like to take a moment. If you remember a couple of months ago, I had a gentleman come forward to talk about he was an author and he was 103 years old, Mr. John McHugh, and he wrote a book about how folks from the islands were brought up during the war to the United States, and, imagine being from the Caribbean and then you are transported to Buffalo, New York in the winter or in the fall to glean and reap crops that would have otherwise died on the vine if it wasn't for volunteers and folks that came while our men were in the war. These folks from the Caribbean came and worked on farms and did the work, and he is turning 104 years old today is his birthday. So I wanted to wish him a birthday. You don't normally get to wish someone who's 104 years old a happy birthday, but in this particular case, we do. So John McHugh, I wish you a very happy birthday.
I thought you were going to go the other way, and so that's really nice news.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, no, that's very good news. He turned 104 today, or yesterday, I believe.
Mr. Hurd.
I'm set.
All right. Mr. Donaldson. You have any?
Just one thing, while I was off last week, I did go to a short conference with the American Water Resource Association and met our new Colonel Brandon Bowman from Jacksonville District, and I just want to let you know that I gave him our #1 priority, which was to no releases from the S-80. So he got his first week on the job, our message, so just letting you know. Thank you.
All right, and with that, we will go to B and C. #1, Board of Zoning Adjustment Appointment, Miss Donna Gordon.
There she is.
Donna Gordon, this is for the Board of Zoning Adjustment and at-large position, countywide. 2 votes for Mr. McHale, 2 votes for Mr. Sturm.
Is it a time-sensitive appointment?
It may affect well, I don't have a calendar in front of me. Do you know when the next Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting is? I don't think there's one scheduled. You want to continue it to next week?
Till the next meeting?
Yes.
Excellent.
Do we have to make a motion to do that, or are we?
Please.
I'd make a motion that we continue B and C, number 1, the voting and appointment of the Board of Zoning Adjustments, to our August 27th meeting.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously with Commissioner Heatherington absent. Moving on to public hearing number 1, public hearing to consider the adoption of the final assessment resolution for fiscal year 2025, solid waste assessment and certification of the special assessment role to the tax collector. Mr. Amerson.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. It's good to be here today. For the record, Sam Amerson, Utilities and Solid Waste Department Director. The Board of County Commissioners is required to adopt the final assessment resolution for fiscal year 2025 single-family solid waste assessment rates. In July, the board adopted the initial assessment resolution for this. A notice of public hearing has been published and mailed by first-class mail to each property owner proposed to be assessed, notifying the property owner of the opportunity to be heard at the hearing today. The Solid Waste Municipal Service Benefit Unit provides services to approximately 48,983 residential units in the county. On January 12th of 21, the board approved a new franchise agreement with Waste Management, or WM is called today, allowing for an annual CPI rate adjustment ranging from a minimum of 2% to a maximum of 5%. The single-family dwelling unit rate for FY 2025 for the solid waste MSBU services is proposed to be $444.69. This is comprised of $300.96 for collection, $115.53 for disposal costs, and $28.20 for administrative costs. The change in this amount compared to the prior year, which was $421.65, is due to an increase in solid waste collection rate and the amount of solid waste generated per household. Chris Traber, who is the county's Special Assessment Counsel, has reviewed the resolution and the agenda summary and confirmed that the form of each is proper. So this increase for the year is $23.04 per household. That equates to approximately 11 cents per pickup, an additional 11 cents per pickup. So that's about a little less than $2 per month increase. So with that, Donna, can you scroll to, please, for me, to the recommendation? I'm afraid to touch it. So the recommendation is threefold. First, move that the board receive public comment at this public hearing. Second, move that the board adopt the final assessment resolution to the Solid Waste Municipal Service Benefit Unit. And third, move that the board certify the special assessment role to the tax collector. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for staff? Commissioner Campy.
Just to clarify the numbers that you said, I know I had received a couple of emails from people that were concerned when they saw increase. It's how much per year?
$23.04
Per month?
per month, a little less than $2.
And 11 cents per pickup.
Yes.
It was not that we just decided, it was contractually agreed when we did the plan, correct?
That's correct.
And I remember at the time, there was some controversy about who we picked. And I remember saying that it's more of a service than it is a very, defined, it's not like we were purchasing equipment. and that service is, for many people, the only true interaction they have with governmental services, if you're not doing some of the other things. The trash collection, and in this particular case, using WM or Waste Management, I've been reading with interest what's been happening in St. Lucie County and Indian River County. And I would hope that our residents would agree that the negotiation and contract that we put together with WM saved our residents, including all of us, a tremendous amount of headache. I know that they've had nothing but difficulty. Maybe they're starting to iron it out, but nothing but difficulties with once-a-week pickups, no picking up where your trash would stay forever at your house or for long periods of time. Many neighborhoods don't allow you to have the trash stored outside, so imagine having your pails in your garage. So the 11-cent increase in a year when we're hearing, or let's call it what it is, a $24 annual increase in a year when everything seems to be going up for everyone. So for the gas prices and the maintenance prices for Waste Management to have that, I think is a reasonable effort. I also would like to thank the Taxpayers Association for coming out with a pretty clear outsider's perspective on what this agenda item was. I know some people were concerned, but I think under the circumstances, no one wants to pay a penny more, but if you had to for this valuable service that I think is handled very effectively, and if there are people that don't think it's handled effectively, you need to contact either us or WM directly, and they will, in every case that I have had where residents were concerned, even if it wasn't Waste Management or WM's fault, if a neighbor was throwing stuff out with no containers, especially out in Palm City Farms, we've had some folks that have suffered through that. And when we contacted Mr. Sabin at WM, the residents contacted back and said they were very happy with the resolution of their complaint. So if someone is unhappy with their service, please contact WM directly. Jeff Sabin.
Or just call the main office number.
Yeah, call, you can visit his home. If you see him out in public, you can ask him. No, I think that's fine. I'd make a motion to accept staff's recommendation as it was presented.
Commissioner Smith.
I'll second and come back to that after public comment.
Okay, do we have any public comment on this agenda item? Seeing no public comment, Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, a little bit of tag on to what Ed just had to say. Two things that we oversee that can't fail that Sam's involved in. One, you can't fail in trash collection, and you can't fail if you're on our utility system with your toilet flushing. And so, Sam, you do a remarkable job with both. Waste Management does a remarkable job on their end. And to Ed's point, for the handful of calls we get a year, and that's usually what our office gets, maybe yours all get the same sort of thing, but Waste Management is always on top of resolving the issue as quickly as possible, and they've done a remarkable job all these years. Thank you.
Sam, you know what we say, you're number one in the number two business.
You got a shirt to prove it.
Yeah, now I had to wear it proudly.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously, or 4-0 with Commissioner Heatherington absent.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to public hearing number 2, public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance amending Chapter 9 Animals, Article 1 General Provision, Section 9.1 Definitions, and Article 4 Animal Control, Care and Treatment, Section 9.95 Dangerous Dogs General Ordinances, Martin County Code. Boy, that was a mouthful.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Morning,
Can you say it again?
Morning, Mr. Chair, George Stoke, Assistant County Administrator, and your Animal Care and Control Oversight Board Staff Liaison. We just wanted to give you a nice long title for this morning.
Longer than the item.
Yes, hopefully we can be brief and brilliant here. Basically, what staff is coming for is we would like to amend the ordinance so that it can better reflect what's required under Florida state statutes, as well as improve the process from what it currently exists. The main changes are, number one, we're asking to change a dangerous dog hearing from it being heard by the county administrator to an independent magistrate, as well as there is a requirement, we're looking to amend that seeks to impose requirements of residents who relocate their dogs into Martin County, that those dogs then be registered or have been declared as a dangerous dog, then be declared and registered here in our county. And with that, there are some minor changes, both from grammatical as well as just little things. And with that, we're seeking for your approval for these amendments. And joined by me is Ms. Pietrek from the County Attorney's Office, here to answer any questions you may have.
Good morning.
Morning.
Any questions for staff?
We should ask a question, just one, just so she's got like.
Yeah.
We
Seeing
did present
none.
it to the ACCOB, who did
Yes.
approve it.
I did forget to mention.
Seeing none, any public comment? Wow. Okay. We have a
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Hurd. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes 4-0. Commissioner Heatherington absent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on being the shortest agenda item of the day
So far.
so far. Next, presentation by Growth Management Department by Mr. Paul Schilling and Peter Walden.
Good morning, Commissioners. Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director for the record. We appreciate your time here this morning. We have a brief presentation, and of course, we anticipate some questions associated with the data that we provide here. Our goal is to provide an overall view of the department, our daily activities, activities in the future, and our goals and objectives. And we'll go across all the divisions of the department. So just a breakdown of the chain of command, if you will. We're all aware of this, but the director, and then we have the 4 divisions: comprehensive planning, administration, environmental, and then development review. So the staff of the department, you'll notice the differing divisions here and allocated staff positions. I just want to point this out, that these staff work cohesively and across fluidly throughout the day in, day out. So if you can imagine an environmental scientist or a landscape architect also giving guidance on a code enforcement case, which may eventually lead up to a development review application in the future. And arguably the most important department is the support staff, which take in applications, process them, digitize them, distribute them, and then ultimately close out projects when they're successful. So the task, this is a snapshot in time from, from January to June of this year. So building permit reviews, we talk about those at times with the budget and performance measures. We review thousands of permits a year. Some of those permits may be a one-time review, for example, a shed, which all the information was provided. They may also be multiple rounds of review associated with a permit for a pool, which is adjacent to a preserve area, that also has our environmental folks looking at those criteria with respect to preserve area setbacks and so forth. We have several thousand zoning inquiries a year. Those vary in scale and complexity, from a realtor asking a simple zoning question, can a single-family residence be built on this lot, all the way up running the gamut to a zoning company actually asking 20 questions on a property that is potentially going onto the market. Those inquiries take up a significant amount of our resources at times because of the complexity of those and the professional staff that need to be involved to either answer those properly and concisely and accurately. The comprehensive plan amendments, we currently have 19 of those. You may be, I'm sure you're aware of the evaluation and appraisal report. We have embarked on that. We've had a couple applications to the local planning agency recently, and we will be providing all the climax of those events on October 22nd with transmittal with this board. So that is ongoing. We currently have projects, these were approved, 36 projects, and those could run and scale from a simple administrative amendment to a business adding on a parking lot or an addition to a building, all the way up to a plan unit development. We currently, and this is historic, we average about 70 odd applications at any given time. Those can stretch out for 2 or 3 years at times, so our numbers are always consistent with that, basically with that amount. We conduct 874 inspections in this case from January to June. And those inspections are construction adjacent to preserve areas. They could be wetland impacts as part of a code enforcement case, which we tend to operate about 30 cases at any given time, differing scales of those, which can involve the environmental scientists and folks with respect to clearing violations, wetland enhancement, and then ultimately bonding of requirements for those code enforcement cases should there have been impacts to wetland areas or upland facilities. So I'll turn it over to Peter, and we have some of the, first of all, we pride ourselves on providing excellent customer service. Our surveys have shown that. Our customers tell us that, with a few exceptions, of course. But that is the operating goal of the department day in and day out. And so that's the overriding goal. I'll turn it over to Peter. We'll get into some particulars on this slide, and then we'll move on. We have a few more slides for you this morning.
Okay, so in addition to all the daily tasks and routine that Paul just went over, I want to go over a few things that staff have been working on to increase our customer service. The Environmental Division have worked on consolidating and organizing over 800 preserve area management plans in the county. This involves going back in time to the late 80s, going through paper and digital files, making sure they're recorded, making sure they're up to date and accessible by the public and the staff. This amounts to over 11,000 acres of privately owned preserve areas. As everyone knows, that on every development order, it may entail adding preserve areas to the county preserve area management plans. And this entails all wetlands and buffers, and up to 25% of all uplands get into preserve areas through development orders. This adds up over time, and like I said, that's over 17 square miles of area that the growth management staff are responsible for overseeing and the maintenance of those. And staff is now working with the property appraiser's office to make sure the PAMPs show on their records as well. This should cut down on mishaps when property changes hands and new owners may not be aware that there's existing PAMPs and preserves on their property. This will make sure that all of that information gets transcribed to new owners. The environmental staff is also working with the comp planning staff on the EAR update. We're working on the chapters 8 and 9 of that. And with that, I'll go to comprehensive planning. As you know,
Wait, hold on just a minute. Commissioner Smith?
Sure.
And just for the sake that somebody may be listening and not fully understanding 100%, what is a PAMP?
A preserve area management plan. That is all of the environmentally sensitive areas, either wetlands, their buffers, or shoreline protection zones, or upland habitat areas that have to be preserved according to our comprehensive plan.
And a requirement of a site plan and a final site plan and so generally speaking, since the 80s, any development that has occurred has a PAMP?
Anyone that has either habitat on it, or upland habitat, or a wetland on it, has a PAMP on it, yes.
And then there, in that approval process, there is a structure, sort of a written requirement for maintaining it, taking care of it, and that's what you're going through and reviewing constantly. That's happening.
Yes.
That's what equates to the 11,000 acres.
Yeah, that preserve area is either adopted through the development order and a PUD agreement, and it's done in coordination with our environmental staff who go out and inspect these areas to make sure that they're consistent with what the environmental appraisals have been done on the property, and that's all through the site planning process.
And then the other one is an EAR?
Yes, the evaluation and appraisal report that's due to make sure that all of our chapters in the comp plan are consistent with the state. We have the coastal management, which is Chapter 8, and the conservation and open space chapter, which is Chapter 9. Our environmental staff are working with public works and comp planning staff to get those updated properly.
And when that's all said and done, what happens?
All of those chapters are going to come before the board in October, and that'll be a very full agenda. There's going to be a lot to go over with all of them.
And there'll be comprehensive plan amendments that will be reviewed and voted on, and then that will all be sent to the state for adoption as the year amendment adoption process.
Correct.
Just, you guys do this every single day. Most people don't.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so the comp planning staff, as we just discussed, is going through the year process. That entails going through all 19 chapters of the comprehensive plan, making sure that it is all consistent with state statutes, and they'll also make possible recommendations to update and address local issues. This project included coordination with staff from several departments. It's not just growth management, and it's ongoing. There'll be public hearings at the LPA and finalizing for this in October. That is the plan. And those will be very full agendas for the board. It'll take a considerable time. They're also involved in an impact fee study right now, and that involved a third party and an evaluation of impact fees and an update to Article 6 of the land development regulations. This is for residential and non-residential development, and the culmination of this work is proposed to go before the board in September. In addition to those items, comp planning is always working on population and residential updates and data that keep the board and the public up to date. So the next is development review. And staff have made updates to further our customer service goals. We've updated checklists, templates, forms, and the application process itself have been updated to provide a smoother and more efficient development review process. This benefits the public as well as staff in making the system work better, so more time can be allocated to reviews rather than the redundancies of filing and timekeeping. So staff have also brought forward updates and changes to Article 10, Development Review Procedures. We've updated Article 4, Commercial Design, and we've updated Chapter 18 and Article 12 of the CRA Code. And we're currently working with CRA staff as they and the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council revise architectural guidelines for the CRAs. As you know, the CRA recently adopted land use and zoning changes, but the emphasis at that time was on uses and development standards. Now staff has the chance to review and update the architectural standards as well, and that is expected to be brought to the board possibly in November. We are also working on remodeling of Article 3 to incorporate Division 7, Category C zoning districts into the general standards of the code. This will be brought to the board in September, and this entails taking the 50-plus pages of Division 7 code, which date back to 1967, and incorporate those uses, standards, and terms into the current Article 3 code. And the last thing I want to touch on, which is a big part of what we do these days, is dealing with public records requests. Those have kind of evolved in the last few years as to a process that's everything from someone reaching out to saying they need a copy of a site plan to the history of industrial PUDs in the county. So even though we have a dedicated staff and administration that deals with this, growth management is the record holder for much of that information, and we spend an awful lot of time either procuring these information for these requests and fulfilling, making sure all the records and everything is properly retained. So that's a little compass of that.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, Peter, when that agenda item gets formed, and Dawn, when that gets formed for November, specifically to the CRA architectural review side of things, I brought up, I think it was last meeting, the conversation about the settlement architect idea, and hopefully that comes back with that together. I don't know if you were going to do that sooner or later, but if not sooner, it would seem appropriate that that comes as part of that discussion.
Okay, I'm not part of that, I'm not leading that charge, but I'll relate that to staff for sure.
Thank you.
So oftentimes the growth in the county is obviously at the forefront. It is every day. So these are some charts that were garnered from the Florida Department of Revenue as part of the Schimberg Housing Study. And it gives you a graphical depiction of the history of single-family homes by year built in Florida. And you'll notice in the early 2000s, it escalates, of course, in the height of the market, and then drops off, and then comes back up. And these are 22 numbers. I would point out that in Florida during this study in 2022, just for purposes of context, in Florida there were 125,000 single-family permits residences built. In Martin County there were 546. I have some other numbers of interest that I'll go into in a few moments, but these are the new residential units in Martin County from 1992 to 2023. You'll notice there's a hierarchy or a higher amount of these in the early 90s, associated presumably with Martin Downs and so forth. And then it kind of drops off at the recession, and it slowly has been traveling pretty much a straight line until just after the pandemic, and then it's increased to just under 500. But just for context on that level, I had some additional information that I wanted to share with you. So our neighbors to the north, St. Lucie County, this is for context, in 2022, there were 5,461 single-family permits issued. And in Palm Beach County to the south, there were 3,810 permits issued for single-family residences. The top 10 counties within Florida, I won't name them all, but Polk County is at the highest, number one, which was 9,235 residences in 2022. At the bottom of that scale is Marion County, and these are the top 10 at 4,799, with St. Lucie about 7 in that scale. So I think that's important to keep things into context, and we can talk about the pressures of development. Ms. Fields was here talking about the value of property. The value of property has come to a point where we have situations with projects in which someone maybe has 10 acres of land, and 10 years ago they could facilitate several units on it, and it wasn't financially feasible because of the environmental concerns, upland habitat restrictions, and necessitating a preserve area. But now those numbers make sense economically for many developers. So you could have a project 10 years ago that was 20 units, and today it's only 12, but that project could be successful economically simply because of the market. New commercial units, the idea here is just the trajectory of in the early 90s, presumably at Martin Downs, as well as the West Jensen area, the Treasure Coast Mall, and then fairly straight trajectory into the early mid-2000s, and then it's risen up to some extent within the last couple years, associated with some of the larger industrial projects, Sands and the KL Waterside project. So the median home price, most people are aware of this, but this is kind of astounding actually with respect to when we talk about housing and the shortage of housing and attainable housing. This is in Martin County with an average, and this was from the same study, of 574,200, which is at the lower fourth of the orange here, also including Palm Beach, Miami-Dade, and Fort Lauderdale. But you'll notice at the higher end of that scale is 750 to $1 million, which is Monroe, Collier, and then Walton County in the Panhandle. There's population projections. We talk about those at times, and we will be doing the population technical bulletin that will be coming before the LPA, and then Chapter 4, along with Chapter 4 as data and analysis for the evaluation appraisal report. But just for context, the population projections here, 2023, are as you see on the screen. So the challenges and progress with our daily efforts as well as long-range planning, Peter hit on quite a bit of this. I would point out, as I mentioned in a previous hearing, that we have had at times a shortage of staff and being able to recruit and retain talented individuals, which gets to the next point is we spend, I mean the department as a whole spends many, many hours cross-training. So to give you an example, to have someone that can provide customer support at the front window here at the zoning desk, which at times involves everyone in the department at one time or another, to have an individual in that position to be able to make determinations quickly, concisely, with an ongoing customer service attitude is highly unique, I would argue, and very, very difficult to find that individual, and then ultimately to retain that individual because just of the nature of the business and what we deal with on a day-to-day processes. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Hurd?
Yeah, I carefully watch development review, both at the staff level and also I also monitor the LPA agendas carefully also in anticipation that those projects are eventually going to end up here. And I'm now looking at the EAR amendments. And this is not a criticism of you because I know that you're not driving the agendas and I know that you're not driving the deadlines because the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council has been contracted with to provide the support. But I'm noticing that the LPA took up their first review of EAR amendments last week, and they're going to have 2 or 3 chapters a meeting until the 1st of October. And that seems reasonable to me. And then I reviewed that this board is going to take our very, very first and only look at EAR amendments in one meeting on October 22nd. In the past, when we've done EAR amendments, we have broken up the public hearings to make sure that the public had ample opportunity to review these EAR amendments. This is irresponsible. It's reckless. It's ignoring the public by not giving them an opportunity to look at the EAR amendments. It's doing a disservice to this board to think that we can carefully review 19 chapters of brand-new law that governs all of our local development is irresponsible. You cannot do that in one meeting. I don't know who's driving this reckless, irresponsible process, but it's wrong.
Commissioner, I appreciate that. I'm driving the process in compliance with state statute. So there is a requirement in state statute that all of those items be transmitted on the same date. With respect to public comment.
Fine, we can do it on the same day. It's just that we will cumulatively reach that point. I'm fine with sending all 19 chapters up on the same day. I just am not at all supportive of reviewing every single chapter on the same day. Let's have 2 a meeting, just like the LPA is having. And then finally, we put, just like we used to do back in comprehensive planning days, we would do them up over a period of time, and then we would send them up to the state all at the same time.
Elise?
Elise Elder, Deputy County Attorney. So they require one public hearing for all the chapters that are being transmitted. So in order to do that, you would just have to break it up and continue the public hearing every time you move it forward.
Okay.
We have to get them all to the LPA first, and then they all have to be transmitted before the end of November. So there is a bit of a time crunch there, so that's also
we got all of October and all of November. unless you just want to hide these amendments from the public.
Commissioner Campy.
I agree with Commissioner Hurd. Relax. It's not a first. I also believe, and I've heard what you said, but I also think it's a burden on our staff, and what you heard from Mr. Schilling is that he's trying to follow a situation where these rules and this concept was stated out of Tallahassee, but in the real world of having to do it, it's not fair to you all to have to prep to that level and then present to that level, and for us to have to deal with it at that level, and the public to also, the ones that are interested, and there's a decent amount of folks that are interested, to follow along at that level, the volume of reading and prep for you all, and then for us and the public, makes it too much. So I guess if 2 to the LPA doesn't get you there to us in time, then maybe, I mean, we're having 19, they're having 2. Stack them up a little bit so that we could have at least 3 or 4. I think that's reasonable for all of us.
Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, I guess what I would share, my thoughts about what I've listened to this morning is that we by far have the best growth management department in the state of Florida. And I would go so far as to say the Regional Planning Council is one of the best. There are 1 or 2 other regional planning councils that are of exceptional quality in the state. Ours certainly rivals those other 2 that I'm thinking of, if not the best. And so for the public listening to what was said, our process is incredibly thorough. You have the best staffs in the business reviewing, doing the work, and rest assured whatever comes forward will be meticulously looked at and worked on and reviewed. Whatever time it takes to review it, this board will deal with that. But don't think for 1 second that somehow the process is being pushed aside and it is reckless or it is some other word that was used. By no means would I ever describe our staff as anywhere even close to what was just said. You guys are the best in the business. And what you just rattled off with your growth management update proves the fact that Martin County is incredibly different. The numbers support exactly what I'm saying. To the north of us is an entirely different situation. To the south of us is an entirely situation. What's going on in the villages is insane. We are not any of that. And nor is the review, and nor is the staff, and nor is any of the other outside agencies that work on our behalf to help us get through this. So I am very confident that what comes forward will be of the best it can be. And typically in the past, when we have sent our ER reports to the state, they have come back with very little comment.
Appreciate those sentiments, and staff will definitely review the agendas going forward and see what we can do to break them up and make it more palatable for the board.
Thank you.
Let me just clarify, I apologize, just to make sure. We have, it's appropriate that they sit on both sides of the dais. When I said I agreed with Commissioner Hurd, I agreed with the concept, not with the irresponsible, and that's her opinion, she's entitled to have it, and I'm not going to get into it, but that's not what I meant. I meant that her point that having 19 chapters in a single day doesn't work. I understand why you wanted to do that. I'm not on board with thinking that you're irresponsible or whatever else. I just meant that the concept and the process needed to be stretched out a little bit.
Mr. Hurd.
And I prefaced my remarks by saying that it wasn't a criticism of staff.
I heard that.
Because you're not driving these deadlines. I recognize that you're doing a responsible job of meeting the legal requirements of EAR.
So, go ahead.
May I just point out that there are timeframes involved here which arguably are very, very intense, but there are contingencies that may or may not happen with respect to quorums at the LPA. So that is the genesis of this schedule that we have to provide for a contingency plan should one need to be pushed because they're solely dependent on the LPA as well.
Might I make a suggestion, Mr. Chair?
Please.
If need be, we have scheduled multiple days sometimes to review budgets. We have scheduled multiple days for other situations. If need be, we can add on our side, after you figure out what the LPA is strategizing, an additional day to a calendar for us to get together to do this. It happens once every 7 years. It's very important. It's complicated. We would need you the ability to lay it out to us as commissioners and the public in a fashion that makes it a little more palatable, if need be.
So I should have interrupted you at the very beginning. Your very first slide, when you were talking about the different departments with the employees or FTEs, are all of those positions filled?
They're not currently. We are recruiting for a senior zoning compliance technician, or reviewer rather, and a senior planner in the comprehensive planning division.
Those are two pretty important spots.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else?
Do you see that in your future?
No.
It's still open.
I could put a hell no in front of that.
They're trying to recruit.
Okay. Anyway, with that,
Do you need anything?
do you need anything?
No.
No, thank you.
This is a presentation, right? Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And with that, we're at our 10:30 closed captioning break. We'll come back in 10 minutes, please. Thank you.
Woods.
Oh, oops. Can we start without her or no?
Start without who?
Sarah, I didn't notice she's not here.
Elisa's here.
Here she comes.
Okay, there she is. All right, we're going to go. Department 1, Office and Management of Budget Items which require board approval. Stephanie Murley.
Good morning, everybody. Stephanie Murley, Director of OMB, here to present 7 items on the OMB item today. Our first item is permission to apply for the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation grant for the Indian River Lagoon Estuary Restoration Project. Our Environmental Resource Division is requesting $1.6 million to support seagrass restoration in the Indian River Lagoon, and it includes seagrass plantings, clam restoration, and the removal of harmful algal blooms. We are required to contribute $450,000, which is programmed over multi-years of the Indian River Lagoon CIP project. Our next item is a permission to accept the Emergency Management Preparedness and Assistance Trust Fund, or EMPA grant. Our Division of Emergency Management is requesting to accept $105,806 to enable the county to enhance planning projects, provide for technology, equipment, and supplies for our emergency management program. There is no grant match required. Our third item is a permission to accept the Florida Department of State Division Library Information Services grant. Our library department has been awarded a grant in the amount of $76,270 to provide funding for a full-time library specialist position, equipment for Idea Lab upgrades, and books and materials for the library collection. There is no grant match required. Item number 4 is a budget resolution to accept the FY25 allocation of the Federal Highway Administration Metropolitan Planning Organization, or MPO, in the amount of $903,548 for the general operating needs of the MPO. No grant match required. Number 5 is a request from our Martin County Sheriff's Office to utilize the equitable sharing funds for the helicopter pilot training. The training is going to provide an additional certified pilot to assist the sheriff's office in the amount of $20,091.
Commissioner Jenkins is going to put his application in for that one.
Okay, helicopter pilot is his retirement plan.
There you go.
Item number 6 is a budget resolution to amend the Florida Emergency Medical Services, or EMS Trust Fund grant. This is an annual grant we get every year from the Department of Health in the amount of $19,867 for emergency management operating needs. And number 7 is a request for funds to conduct future fire facility needs analysis. Staff is requesting funds from fire impact fee reserves in the amount of $35,950 for an analysis of future fire needs out in the western lands. That's all I have today.
Any questions for staff?
Motion to accept Ms. Murley's presentation.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Campy, seconded by Commissioner Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Commissioner Heatherington absent. Now, moving on to Department 2, contracts that meet the threshold for board approval, $1 million or greater. Christy Brotherton.
Good morning, Christy Brotherton, Chief Procurement Officer. We have 3 contracts for your consideration today, and the first contract is for our Golden Gate El Camino Trail Project. Staff is recommending that the board award the contract to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, which is BDI Marine Contractors, in the amount of $3,579,323.10, and this is for the base bid and the bid alternate number 1. And move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute all documents related to this request. The next contract is a continuing services contract for civil engineering services. This contract has a maximum not to exceed value of $6 million and a maximum not to exceed term of 5 years. Staff is recommending contract award to the 10 highest scoring firms, which are AECom Technical Services, CapTech Engineering, Carnahan Proctor & Cross, Drummond Carpenter, Hoyle Tanner and Associates, Johnson, Murmuran and Thompson, Keith and Associates, Singhoff and Half, Stantec Consulting Services, and WSP USA, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute all documents related to this request. And last, we have another continuing services contract for professional engineering services related to transportation projects. This contract has a maximum not to exceed value of $1,500,000 and a maximum not to exceed term of 5 years. And staff is recommending contract award to the 5 highest scoring firms, which are CapTech Engineering, Johnson, Murmuran and Thompson, Kimley Horn and Associates, Marlin Engineering, and Stanley Consultants, and move that the board authorize the county administrator or designee to execute all documents related to this request. And that concludes this item.
Commissioner Smith.
Mr. Chair, move approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Commissioner Heatherington absent. Mr. Donaldson, can we do Department 5 in the next 9 minutes?
Yes.
So we have a preset at 11?
Yes, sir, I certainly hope so.
Okay.
This is a request to execute a lease agreement with the Village of Indiantown for the use of 2 of our towers in that area. Ms. Carla Secura is here just to answer any questions, so we have any. But what's of note is that the village and their wastewater utility has been having to go some significant renovations at this time. And as part of their wanting to attach on our antennas a means to automatically collect meter reading facilities. And has been requested that our normal lease fee be waived as they're in this time of trying to get their utility up and running. And it was important to them to ask for this. The normal fee is was it $1,300 roughly per unit? It would be $2,600 a year. And they've also asked that we allow them to insure it under their current insurance program and not at the rates the county has for other users, which is a slight reduction. So I've supported their request to bring it forward to you and ask that you authorize us to execute the agreement. I've requested 2 amendments to the standard agreement. One is that the termination clause, that if there is some change to the property that we want to make, that there's an ability for the county to terminate the with proper notice. And the other is that the renewal would come back in 5 years.
Perfect. Commissioner Smith.
Yeah, I'll move approval with the notation that it's just one of the small little things that we can do to support Indiantown in their efforts to become the place that they want to become.
Completely agree. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, I'm not going to support that. This agreement that we proposed to Indiantown is the lease payment rates and the insurance requirements are consistent with all existing leases with other municipalities within Martin County that utilize our towers. If we waive these lease fees, it shifts the maintenance burden to the county, and the reduction in insurance requirements opens the county to possible increased liability. We have this policy in place. We have these requirements with all the other municipalities. They should be the same. We should not make exceptions to these rules.
Mr. Donaldson, I understand that the only other municipalities that utilize something like this is actually out of county, correct?
Yes, it is Tequesta, but they are serving Martin County residents with that facility.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Campy. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 3-1 with Commissioner Heatherington absent. Okay. All right, now, Department 3, we're 6 minutes, yeah, thank you, Carla, 6 minutes early for, which is executive session pursuant to Florida Statute Section 447605 for collective bargaining negotiations. It says Heather is going to, you're not Heather. So.
Yes. Good morning, Commissioners. Matt Graham, Assistant County Administrator. Just to read into the record, Martin County is currently in the process of negotiating with the Teamsters. Their contract expires in September of this year, September 30th, 2024. The county's negotiation management team is requesting an executive session to discuss the labor negotiations. The Board of County Commissioners has a limited exemption under Florida statutes 447-605, which allows the board to meet in an executive session to discuss collective bargaining. The session will be attended by the county commissioners, our negotiation management team, as well as our county attorney and deputy county attorney. Thank you.
So, what's next? Okay, so we are going to pause, adjourn, and we are going to do our executive session, and then we will come back and go from there. Thank you.
We'll be back.
All right. We are back from our executive session, and I think our lawyer has something. Don't you normally say something when we come back? Oh, okay. All right. And with that, I guess we're done, right?
We are. I do have one announcement.
Okay, well, I was going to call for public comment, but we've got nobody in the gallery, so we'll move on to comments. Mr. Donaldson.
So I just wanted to recognize our CRA in getting several awards recently, and I think they're nice in that they also illustrate their collaboration with our Public Works field operations, and so there's 3 awards I just want to that Susan Corus and her team won, and one is the 2024 honorary special recognition for MARTS, emphasis on art, award for the Ripple Stormwater Eco Art Project from Martin Arts. And then number 2 was the Florida Friendly Landscape Gold status from the University of Florida for Indian Street Landscape Median Project in Golden Gate. And then finally was the Florida Friendly Landscape Gold status from the University of Florida for the Rio Bioswale Project. So I just thought that was important to recognize the good work by our CRA and the cooperation between them and Public Works in achieving those awards. Congratulate them. Thank you.
Very nice.
Commissioner Smith, nothing? I do have one thing, that if anybody's interested, the train station will be moving from its location, current location to downtown Hope Sound on the 18th. As I understand it, it will be the wee hours of the morning, and it should be passing through the Bridge Road US 1 intersection about 5 a.m. So if somebody would actually like to watch that go by.
So what time does Harry's open up?
Yeah, I don't know exactly.
Breakfast?
Yeah, and watch it go by. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I don't know, 5 a.m. might be a little early for Harry, but anyway. So we're all in town very excited about that. The footers are being dug at its new home as we speak. So, Commissioner Smith.
I was thinking about this the other day, and it was going down to Harry's for breakfast the other morning, and just wondering how the banyan trees, that whole project was going. But it also struck me, too, that in November last year, when we were doing our priorities, we talked about, I talked about, and Harold agreed, that we'd have a tree ordinance or like a champion tree something coming. I would hope that we would get that on our agenda before Harold departs us, so that he can make a motion if we're so inclined to approve whatever we create for that. So just a reminder, it's August, and those months will go by quickly if we're not working on that, and I would love to see that happen before Harold departs.
Well, the last I heard, that all these lawsuits were still kind of not resolved.
Right, but this would be like an incentive program. I don't think that the lawsuits would affect the idea.
To incentivize somebody to keep a
Keep a
champion
tree,
tree
right,
on there.
correct.
Yes, I completely agree, and
So it's not forcing anybody to do anything. It's if you have this spectacular tree on your site, and you want to take advantage of something that we can create that makes it worthy of somebody to keep it, fantastic.
well, if Peter's listening, I hope he is, maybe we can get that done. The trees on Bridge Road, I know that's a town of Jupiter Island situation, that they have the agreement to maintain them and everything else, but I will tell you, as their caretaker for the last 40 years, and especially this last little episode with the tornado, we're reaching critical mass on that beautiful tree canopy. All of them survived, even the ones that I had given the death sentence to when we stuffed them back in the ground are actually pushing out new growth, which is surprising. But those trees have gone through a lot. That particular variety, they're not banyans, that's Ficus myocarpa. That is actually an exotic. There's only one species of ficus that are native to Florida, which is the strangler fig, which is what Stuart Trent is trying to. We've put one as a trial. That's the first tree that's closest to the beach that's thriving, but that.
What are the ones on Old St. Lucie Boulevard?
Those are the largely ficus. Don Quazzo is calling me right now. I probably could ask him, and he would know the exact species. But, there's 150 different varieties of ficus. So
Because they seem to do.
they do very well. And so my point of bringing this up is this conversation of having a program for replacing those trees has been going on for 25 years, and Mr. Reed was leading the charge
You have to lead.
for years and years, and never really got any traction with the town or the club or the county. But I can tell you, and I think that any arborist and horticulturalist that really takes a hard look at what is left of those trees are telling you, or will tell you, that we have to come up with a program to maintain that canopy for the future. And so I just kind of wanted to, it's been kind of gnawing at me because.
Is that something that's, what you just outlined is difficult, but can we do that?
I think that,
With the city, I mean, with the town?
I think we're going to have to work in concert with the town of Jupiter Island, yes. And so, anyway, with that.
I make a motion to make Harold Jenkins the chairman of that new tree committee,
Yeah, well, okay.
tree canopy
And,
committee.
I have a fondness for those trees and have personally stood them up more than once, so. And the other night, when I came home from dinner, I don't remember which night it was, my wife and I went out to dinner, and I came home and saw half of my patio furniture in the pool from one of the bands that came through. I went into instant shock, ran back out to the garage, jumped in the car, and went down Bridge Road to make sure that we had a tree laying down because,
And?
and we were good, so. So anyway, with that said, Commissioner Campy.
You used up all my time.
Okay. Mr. Hurd?
I'm set.
Okay, and with that, our next meeting is August 27th, and we are adjourned.